And we are alive. Welcome, Mystery and Thriller fans. I'm your on air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome back Andrea Bartz here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new book out next Tuesday, The Last Ferry Out. Andy, welcome back to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Thank you so much, Sara. Thank you for having me. It's the last ferry out, but this is my first event for the last ferry out. So this is very exciting. First and the best, I'm
Yay!
sure. The last ferry out, it comes out May 20th. And it is about a woman who travels to the little remote Mexican island where her partner died a few months earlier in order to, sort of grieve that accident and get some kind of closure. And while she's there, she is getting to experience this beautiful place with its wilderness and its ruins and its locals. And she meets this really enchanting group of expats that her partner had befriended while she was there. And at first, it seems like this is going to be a really healing and great kind of trip. But then she wakes one morning to a text from one of them that says, "You deserve to know the truth about what happened with Esther. Meet me at the cafe tomorrow, 9 a.m. So she rushes there to meet him. He doesn't show. And in fact, he appears to have disappeared entirely from the island. So the more she digs, the more secrets she kind of uncovers. And she starts to suspect that she might actually be trapped on the island with a killer and that her fiance's accident was no accident at all. So it's twisty. It's got multiple narrators, multiple timelines, kind of a puzzle box structure. And I hope it's super fun for people to read.
It is super fun, and we are going to go into every delicious detail and take all of your questions live. First, I just want to welcome everyone because we are broadcasting live to 7 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So mystery and thriller loving friends, no matter where you're watching from, this is the right time and this is the right place. It is Mystery Monday, and because Mondays can be murder, we are going to make it a little less painful and get your week off to a killer start. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome, friends. Here's the drill. Every Monday for hashtag Mystery Monday, I give you the hottest authors and you get to ask them anything. So ask Andy about her writing process, ask her about her characters, ask her anything that is going on in your mind. She's got those questions going on in the comments and I will get them right over to her. Okay, let's jump right in. We have Sharon joining us from YouTube saying, "Hi girls." Hi Sharon, welcome. We're so happy to have you. We have Robin joining us from Facebook saying, "Hello, Sara and Andrea from sunny Coeur d'Alene, Idaho." Hello, bonjour, Robin. So good to have you. We have Kim joining us from Facebook with her cute little doggy. Hi, Kim. Hello, book friend, she says. We have Jane joining us from Facebook saying, "Hello, ladies from gorgeous Colorado." I originally read that as "Hello, gorgeous ladies from Colorado." Clearly, I'm projecting. We have Renee joining us from Facebook saying, "Hi, Sara and Andrea from rainy Charlotte, North Carolina." Oh my gosh, I love that we are joined in from literally coast to coast, people everywhere. So good to have you all. Get your questions going in the comments, and I am going to get them right over to Andy. Andy, I'm going to kick off. So you are a journalist and a travel writer. So clearly you know your way around a Caribbean island or two. Tell us about the genesis of this idea. We have you go by Andy. Your character's name is Abby. I mean, we're talking 4 letters, begins with an A. Are you Abby? What's going on? Tell us everything.
So I am Andy, and Abby does sound a little bit similar, but that's where a lot of the similarities end. I warn against projecting too much or putting me into my narrators because it happens with every book. But that said, I worked as a travel writer for years. It sort of ended with a pandemic when I started focusing more on books. But with that in mind, I actually spent the month of February 2020 traveling solo through Mexico, not really realizing how fortuitous that timing was going to be. And I traveled all up and down the West Coast on my own, and some of it was for articles, some of it was for fun. But everywhere that I went, I met these really I don't know, enchanting expats. They were really friendly. They were so welcoming. While I was in a town, they would just invite me along to everything they were doing. And I went salsa dancing with them, and I did bonfires on the beach, and I did cookouts. And, I was just sort of part of their crew for as long as I was there. And then I would move on. And I found them so fascinating because, well, first I was a little jealous because it seems pretty amazing to just live in Mexico all the time.
Yes.
We living in sort of beachy, beachside town. But also, I just thought it was so interesting that there were these sort of tight knit, closed door communities of expats who, if they were all in the same place, probably, I don't know, maybe wouldn't have hung out if they were all, in an English speaking country, right? Like there was something about the
Right.
fact that they could only speak English with each other that brought them all together. And I just started wondering, like, what do these people have in common other than the fact that they all chose to sort of parachute out of their lives in Australia and Germany and the US and all over? Like, what are they running away from, or what are they seeking? And they all sort of got a fresh start in this new place. And so because I am a thriller writer, I had to take sort of this interesting to me social milieu and throw a dead body in the center. So that was sort of that was the genesis of the idea. It was just this fascination with this group of expats.
It is interesting, right? Because when you're traveling with people, you meet people that you maybe would not meet at any other time, and hang out with them in a way that you maybe wouldn't. Maybe, I mean, I have had people tell me crazy stuff in while traveling that I'm like, literally, I'm sorry, what was your name? And you just confessed this major secret to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
there's something about that, like, kind of closeness born out of being away from your real life or your regular life, or that really, yeah, can breed all sorts of interesting dynamics.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, now, Andy, I want to talk about this. So first, we start off in Abby's perspective, who we know right away, this is not a spoiler, that her fiance of 3 months, Esther, has died on this island, and she is coming here seeking answers. And so for a while, we are in Abby's perspective, but then we start to slip into other perspectives, including Esther, which of course are like,
Mhm.
what is going on? Esther, tell us everything. So, first of all, how many, which is not your first time writing in multiple perspectives. So, how do you decide how many to do? And do you know from the beginning how many you're going to do? Or do you just like get to the point where you're like, you know what? I really wonder what Esther was thinking, or I really wonder what Marta or Rita or whoever, like,
Mhm.
and then you're wondering, so you shift into them. Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so I have written from other perspectives before, but it's always been like a pretty straightforward. For example, The Herd like was two alternating narrators, and it's all kind of in the present. They're just picking up the talking stick, and then they talk for a while, and then they pass the talking stick. So this
Yes.
was something different because there are multiple timelines. We're hearing from Abby in the present. Abby is
Yes. Oh,
also
multiple
sharing,
timelines. Yes, yes.
yeah, Abby's also sharing kind of relationship flashbacks. Those go in reverse chronological order, it turned out. There's Esther sharing her first person tale of when she was on the island, leading up to obviously the day that she died. And then there's also a little sprinkling of other islanders' perspectives, almost like little vignettes or short stories about different people on the island. And I did not know any of this was going to happen. In fact, when I started writing, I was like, I'm going to make this like simple and straightforward because people don't have the mental capacity to like be doing something real difficult, least of all me. So I was like, it's going to be one narrator, start to finish. It's going to be chronological, like boom. And then I realized, I think it started with those flashbacks, that like trying to work them in organically wasn't really working. I wanted to actually jump back and like see them in the moment. And then, yeah, the Esther voice just kind of, she was insisting on being heard. I really like had to hear from her to start to understand the story and to start to understand kind of this web that they are all kind of sucked into. And
Ooh,
then once I had that, then I realized I also wanted to hear from these other characters on the island because Abby and Esther are outsiders by definition, right? They are people who just were there temporarily.
right.
And I felt like I wanted to sort of show how this island, like everyone on it has different reasons for being there. That's locals and expats. Like everyone has a different perspective they're bringing, a different goal for the island, a different role to play in this tiny little community. It's only a couple hundred people on this entire island. And so I felt like those other voices sort of like brought that alive and helped explain, and in the way that when you're writing, you start to notice these connections or things that you kind of queued up that you didn't even mean to, like the pieces started to come together. So it was very fun for me to put all the puzzle pieces together in hopefully a way that also for the reader is fun for them to play detective too. And so far, knock wood, no one's called it too confusing. So I think I did what I hoped to do, which was, putting out all the pieces, but having it still be easy to follow.
But isn't that what we all love to do, is play detective? I mean, I was a Nancy Drew girl. We all wanted to be amateur detectives. We all wanted to be Nancy Drew. Isn't that why we read mysteries and thrillers, to get to play detective? I mean, it's just so fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like for me as a non-outliner, that's also kind of why I write them. Like I have some of that same fun of like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that twist coming at all, but it makes perfect sense. And that's exciting, but it's terrifying when I'm leading up to it. Don't know.
Oh my God. Yet. Well, I want to talk more about that, because I can't even imagine doing all of this with the timeless and everything, but I want to get into some people's questions, then we'll come back to that. We have John joining us from Northeast Ohio on Facebook. Hi, John. We have, okay. We have so many good questions. This is so exciting. Okay. She wants to know, first of all, Renee wants to know, Andrea, how did you come up with the characters' names in the last Ferry out? Oh, great question. Yeah,
that is a great question. And actually, Sara, I want you to answer this too, because I'm always curious, but I never know what to name my characters, and often their names change as I'm writing. And I'm like, actually, Pedro isn't right. Actually, you're going to be Pablo. And then I'll change it back. And then sometimes I'll do it at the end. And then like a reader will ask me something about a character and I'll be like, who's that? Because I changed it so late. But for me, I mean, my main characters, my personal rule is that I need to either know a lot of people with that name so that it's not clear that I'm talking about just this one Abby, or I need to know no one with that name, like Esther. And that way I'm not like accidentally invoking anyone that I personally know. And then for the other people on the island, this is kind of an international crew because the expats are from all over. And so I was sort of like looking at what are common names in all over, like Germany and other places, and what just like felt right for them. So I guess I don't have a super specific answer of how I landed on anything, but I would just sort of try stuff on. And then when a name stuck, then I didn't touch it again. But it's a hard part of the process for me. What about you, Sara?
So I think names are it's so funny, because I just was talking with another writer friend, and she was saying, I mean, I write the people in my books are all real people, so they came named, which works well for me.
Right, works out great.
I just was talking with another writer friend today, and she was like, she writes complete fiction. She's like, I can't work with the characters unless they have names. So even if the name has to change, they have to be something. She said, what do you think I should name my female character? Of course, my name goes totally blank. And then I was like, what about Mitzi? But I was like, Mitzi is such a specific name. Like Mitzi, you can already picture her. She has like, I was like, forget Mitzi, not Mitzi. It's too specific.
Very, very specific.
So funny. Oh my gosh. Robin is saying, Andy, you had a plan until the characters took over.
100%. That is entirely right. That's what happened. And like they had their own intentions, had their own, machinations, and I was just trying to keep up, honestly.
Wait, I need more information. So you were literally like, okay, this is how Abby is going to find, with no spoilers, obviously, but like, let's say Abby is going to find herself on this island, and she is going to find out that Esther was perhaps murdered, and that Abby finds herself maybe trapped on an island with the person she suspects of, whatever. And then your character's like, no, Andy, no. I mean, what do you mean when the characters take over? Tell us everything.
Yeah, it's a great question. I guess I start with a pitch. I start with sort of a premise or a hook that appeals to me. And in this case, it was like, yeah, this woman's going to travel to this island where her fiance died in an accident. And while she's there, she's going to meet these expats, and maybe she'll discover something that suggests, I don't know what, but something that suggests it wasn't the accident she was always led to believe. And so I start with this open question, but like, I don't really even know the other characters until I have met them. So like, there's a scene where she's meeting, all these other expats at a beach bonfire. And like, that's when I met them too. And I was like, okay, so there's this woman and this is what she looks like. And this is how she speaks and so on. And then as I'm writing, I'm just sort of following the character. So like, I didn't actually know the answers to those major questions. Like, was it actually not an accident? What are the secrets that the other expats are keeping? Because they all have secrets. I knew that, but I didn't know what they were until I was actually writing. And then when I'm in a scene, I feel like I'm just kind of like listening to them speak. And that's when they sort of would surprise me or reveal something or say something unexpected. And that's when the pieces click together. So I'm making it all sound so smooth and organic, which is totally not how a book goes. And like, there was I'm skipping over all the time that I spent like banging my head against the wall, going for walks, talking to my partner about it. What if we do this? What if this person does this? What if, like pulling out my hair? So I don't want to make it sound like it was, totally intuitive and smooth sailing. It's not. But a lot of these big surprises came to me while I was actually writing. And that was very satisfying for sort of my subconscious to have laid these little breadcrumbs and then bring them all together.
Oh my God, I love it. Renee wants to know, is Esther Abby's fiance? She says, I thought I saw some blurbs with an unusual spelling. Was that correct or an error? So Esther in your book actually is an ESZ. It does have an unusual spelling. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Esther is first generation American. Her parents are Hungarian. And so I had to choose, speaking of names, I had to choose a Hungarian name that like we would know how to pronounce, which is kind of hard in Hungarian actually. Right. And the way that they spell the S sound, it's pronounced Esther, but that is an SZ in Hungarian. So my mom was born in Hungary. She was brought over by my grandparents when she was small. And so I incorporated a lot of those experiences, having an immigrant mother, having very Hungarian grandparents who had so much pride in their story of coming to the US, so much pride in their kind of success story and their bootstrapping and how that sort of informed everything about how they approach, their careers and their lives and that kind of thing. So I thought that would be an interesting sort of backdrop for one of these characters because her parents were immigrants and that's a big part of their identity. And here she is on an island with people who are expats. They're not immigrants, they're expats. And just kind of looking at that contrast, looking at some of the different relationships that people have in a country that they have sort of adopted or that has adopted them. So that was why Esther was indeed spelled kind of unusually.
Good eye. Thank you for noticing that and for raising the question so that we can talk about it. Yeah, Andy, how did you become a travel writer? And I actually don't know that story.
Yeah, so I worked as a magazine editor for years at different, mostly women's magazines like Glamour and Self and some other ones. And I switched to freelance writing because the magazines kept disappearing. I kept getting laid off. And I was doing a lot of freelance writing and I was traveling like crazy on my own because I just love travel. And I had the flexibility to do it for the first time because I was full-time freelance. And then finally, I got very lucky. A good friend of mine got a job as a lifestyle editor at Vogue.com. And she was like, well, why don't you start writing travel stories for me? And I was like, light bulb moment, great idea. And then, once I started doing these travel writing stories, then it kind of snowballs from there. And I met more travel publicists and I got invited to more places and I got, learned how to do travel writing and got more ideas. So I was very lucky to kind of stumble into it, but the travel bug had always been part of my DNA. Oh, to me, you just got muted, but maybe.
I was doing it because I was getting ready to type the sales link. We're going to get to that in just a minute. But Sharon wants to know, did you use any of the names of the people that you met while you were traveling in this novel? Ooh.
I don't think
That's
so.
fun.
I think I was pretty careful to avoid anyone's real names,
Okay.
lest they ever find it. Yeah. Lest
Lest
they
they
ever
ever
check it out.
catch up and their dirty deeds come to light. Oh my goodness. You guys, Andy is coming on a week early. This is her very first pre-launch event to give us the inside scoop and take all of our questions alive. So this is the book that Laura Dave, who is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of The Last Thing He Told Me, says this book is Bartz at her best. Twisty, shocking, and riveting with a narrator you won't stop rooting for. Go, Abby, go. So congratulations on that rave review. And you guys, I just want to remind you, the book is available for pre-order from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is Murder by the Book. So wherever you're watching from today on Facebook or YouTube, here is that link. You can click and pre-order today. And the good folks at Murder by the Book will send it out to you first thing next Tuesday. We ship anywhere internationally. So get your mitts on the last Ferry out from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. Here again is that link. I want to get to some more of this amazing praise. And I also want to get some of these other questions that are coming in. So is the island, which by the way, has a map, and I don't know, I know there are so many people in this audience who love a map as much as I do. Is the island based on an island that you have actually visited?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I knew I wanted to set it somewhere fictional because, there's some dirty dealings and some bad things happening on this island, maybe. And so I didn't want to make that a real place. And I wanted to be able to sort of create the geography and the population and demographics and all that stuff to my own liking. So as I mentioned, I had spent that month traveling along the West Coast, and there were some things about that I stole, some details, some of the farmlands and everyone walking out every night to watch the sunset on the Western beach. And then while I was writing, I went to Isla Obosh near Cancun, which I was there for just a friend's birthday, but that was quite inspiring too. It had some elements that I used, like, a bioluminescent bay. A lot of that island is actually like a nature preserve, which I put into the book. And it also has a lot of that tension that comes up in this book about like tourism versus over tourism, tourism as an engine of the economy, but then what do you sort of lose? And then the last piece that was a major inspiration, although it's not part of Mexico, is that my girlfriend and I, the last few winters, have spent a few weeks in Puerto Rico together, often in Rincon, which is on the West Coast. So they also do those nightly sunsets. But there is an area where we love hiking. It's like a hiking and mountain biking area that's kind of on the southwest corner of Puerto Rico. And it's this thick jungle, and you hike for a while, and then you sort of stumble upon this big complex of buildings. And it actually was, I'm not sure whether it was a like boarding school for sort of troubled boys or if it was like kind of a juvie, but it's so, I don't know, there's like some tagging and some graffiti, but also it's kind of beautiful because the jungle is reclaiming it in such a big way. And I was just really inspired by that. It was very eerie and creepy. And so in the book, there is a major setting. It's this one-time sort of glamorous and glorious resort on a mountaintop that is now ruins that the jungle is kind of retaking. So I sort of, took piecemeal from a bunch of different locations.
I love ruins, and I'm so fascinated when the land starts to reclaim them.
Yeah.
And clearly, I knew it. I am not the only one who loves a map. Robin saying, yay, we love maps. Renee saying, oh, wait, a map in the book. Yay. Jane saying, I love maps. Thank you for including that for us. Also, Andy just posted the funniest graphic of what she asked them to draw and then what they came back with. And I loved seeing what you sent versus what they came back with.
Yeah, they made it look a lot better. I also just did a little reel that was like how it came together, how the map process work with a map maker and everything. So if you want to know more about maps, check out, there's a couple reels for you on Instagram.
I loved seeing the behind the scenes on the map making behind the scenes. I wanted to talk about this review from Elle Magazine saying, Andy, hold on, I'm going to get the one. Andrea Bartz is a master of suspense, and her fifth novel, The Last Ferry Out, is maybe the most unputdownable yet. I was hooked from the very first few pages as Bartz expertly drew me into a gripping narrative. It still makes my heart race thinking about it. Bartz keeps the twists coming till the last page. And congratulations on that rave review. And again, not the only one. Emiko Jean, who was on Mystery and Thriller Mavens for her last book. Emiko is wonderful. Saying, set on an eerie and beautiful island, The Last Ferry Out is a methodically paced, we now know you don't pace, don't plot, a methodically paced suspense novel with richly drawn characters. Expect to lose sleep on this one. Readers will be up late, racing to put the puzzle pieces together. So, Andy, I want to go back to just how you do this, not because so many of these reviews talk about the expert pacing, how you keep those pages flying. And now knowing, again, with multiple points of view and multiple timelines, because we're flashing to before and now present time with the multiple characters, how the hell did you keep that all in your head if you weren't plotting it out? My brain hurts just trying to think about that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't keep it all in my head, for one thing. I write the entire first draft, and then once I have a first draft, I go and I make an outline for it. So I I kind of do it backwards. So now I can look at a glance, and I can look at one page, and I could sort of see, a few pages, like see what happens in every chapter. And I used color coding on this one so that there was one color for Abby, the main story, the present story, a different color for the Abby flashbacks to sort of their relationship together, where you can actually see Abby and Esther together, another color for Esther's journey to the island, and then a final color for those like kind of other little vignettes of people around the island. And once I had that, I did a lot of just like futzing with it in the document and moving things around and trying to figure out like what are the exact right cliffhangers that I can, if I end a chapter with a cliffhanger, then it's a good time to introduce, a different voice or a shift in timelines or perspective, because the character, the reader is still going to be like so desperate to go back to that character and learn more. So they're hooked. And then I would sort of make adjustments so that things were coming at the right time and making sense and all that. But it truly was like, it was like doing surgery. It was like this delicate operation of moving things around. We can't go too long without hearing from Abby in the present, and we can't leave her for too long. We can have two vignettes from other characters in a row. Like it was a complicated process, but it was actually pretty fun.
I mean, that is so freaking cool. Margaret Bernard is joining us from Portland, Oregon. She says, I am so excited for a multiple timeline. Why are multiple timelines so fun, Margaret? Why? I don't know. I love them. Renee says, this is so interesting. I know. I'm trying to picture it too, Renee. Like I'm picturing Andy with her color-coded post first draft outline. I'm loving it. Margaret adding that she also does a post draft outline similarly, and it ends up looking like a Chutes and Ladder board. Is this also you, Andy?
Well, I'm doing it in Google Docs. And so I'm just like, I have a bulleted list where I'm just literally dragging things around. But so after I've sort of moved things where I want them to go, then the next thing I do is make kind of a rough cut of the document where, if chapter 11 is going to get moved, then I move it. And then if I'm going to write a whole new chapter 12, then I'll write, insert chapter here where XYZ happens. And I just remember I have a document outline to the left as I'm working, I have a document outline to the left where normally I can just jump chapter 1, chapter 2. And right after I had done the rearranging, it was like, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 33, chapter 4, chapter 11, and I was just like, what have I done? How have I created this chaos? How am I ever going to make this work? But
what have I done?
In the end, somehow.
Oh my God. Margaret's saying that she thinks they're so good because we are beguiled by a juxtaposition, right? Maybe it's knowing knowing, for instance, that Esther is going to die, but then we go back and see from both Abby and Esther's perspective what things were like in the time leading up to that. Where Esther, so you're right. Maybe it is that. Maybe it's the juxtaposition, Margaret. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Also, I want to talk about Laura Ling Brown, who had this to say. She said, a captivating mystery whose beating heart is the relationship between the main character and her fiance. I couldn't put it down. Lauren is the USA Today bestselling author of Society of Lies. Ashley Elston also weighing in with some wonderful, wonderful words of praise, saying the island setting pulled me in. Oops, I gotta get this one, put this one up. The island setting pulled me in, and the shocking twists kept me on the edge of my seat as I raced to finish the last ferry out. Immersive, tense, and masterful vacations will never be the same. Robin wants to know, how often do you save your work, right? Because you're making all of these changes. Have you ever lost something?
Yeah, no, great question. So I don't actually recommend this, but I do write in Google Docs. So everything is sort of auto-saved because I just have such a fear of like word crashing or something. Right. And then I would so when I had like a full draft 0 and it was time to start rearranging, I would make a copy and then I would label that like rough cut of first revision or whatever. And I would keep making copies and labeling. But most importantly, Google Docs has a see revision history tool, so you can like see where you've changed things, and it just gives me the peace of mind that I'm not going to lose, fingers crossed, some dramatic chunk of it.
No, exactly, because I do worry about it. Like, what if someone comes in and the only thing they steal is my computer? Like, what if there's a fire? I mean, what will I grab? My computer? No, I know exactly.
One thing, yeah.
Publishers Weekly says this is a stylish serpentine thriller. I loved how they used the word serpentine because this twisty, snaky. I love that. Pairing tender explorations of grief and homophobia with a series of horrifying twists. Readers willing to follow Bartz's lead are in for a memorable ride, and we are all readers willing to follow Bartz's lead. Publishers Weekly also. I want to go to back to this other one. Liv Constantine book list grabs readers with a killer premise and keeps the reader flipping the pages with a combination of intricately rendered characters and impossible to predict twists and turns. Liv Constantine also weighing in. I'm going back through all of them. Catherine Stedman the praise keeps going on and on and on. I'm putting it all in the comments so you can read it at your leisure. But the most important thing is that you can pre-order the book now. So the book comes out next Tuesday. Andy is coming on. This is her first pre-launch event. She is giving us the inside scoop. She is spilling the tea. She is singing like a canary, telling us all of her deepest and darkest secrets. And you can immerse yourself in this serpentine, twisty thriller with Abby and Esther and Marta and Rita and Brady and the entire cast of characters. Here is that link. Pre-order now. Get your mitts on this book. Andy, we are out of time. Time flies when you are having this much fun. And it is always so fun to talk with you, my friend. But you guys, here I put all of the amazing reviews in the comments so you can read them at your pleasure. And no matter where you're watching from, here is that link to pre-order from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, Murder by the Book. And the good folks at the bookstore will ship you the last ferry out next Tuesday morning as soon as the last ferry drops. So get your mitts on this book. Andy, thank you so much. Oh, wait, hold on. Signed books. Okay. If anyone DM me your receipt for Murder by the Book, and I will get you a signed book plate from Andy, a Mystery and Thriller Maven's book plate. So just DM me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or TikTok, or whatever. I do it all. Robin wants to know, are you doing a book tour, Andy?
I am. I'm doing not a huge one, but I'm going to some other places. I'm going to be in Milwaukee and Chicago and upstate New York and some other places. So to see that, go to andreabartz.com/events, and then I'll have a full listing of both virtual and in-person events over the next couple months.
Here is the link to her website. So no matter where you're watching from, you can go right here to events and you can see where Andy is going to be. And let me link directly to that. So that you can, if you are anywhere near, Renee says, thank you. You're so welcome, Renee. If you're anywhere near these locations, you can go and meet Andy. And if you're not, then order from Murder by the Book and DM me your receipt and I will get Andy to sign a very special Mystery and Thriller Mavens book plate to go inside your last Ferry book. All right, y'all, that is a wrap. I hope your week is off to a killer start. May the pages and the days fly by. Andy, thanks so much for coming by and giving us the inside scoop on the last Ferry out. It's been so fun to host you again. Lucky number 3, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think this is the third time we've gotten to do this, but thank you so much for having me on. It's always so fun. And if anyone is here who came through my channels and is not already familiar with Sara, she does this regularly. They're all so fun. And also her book, Broadway Butterfly, is amazing. It is historical fiction thriller. It's genius. So definitely check that out too.
Oh my God, Andy, thank you so much. That is so generous and so lovely of you. I really appreciate that.
No, I really mean it. It's a really good book. So.
Oh my God, thank you. Day made. All right, friends, that is a wrap. And I will see you. Oh, my pleasure, Robin, my pleasure. Big hugs to you. And I will see you all next Monday. Read well until then. Andy, hold your book up.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys so much.